Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll be showing you how to take your stock LB7 air inlet horn off and put the new HSP intake horn on. I already have my stock one off. I didn't get any video of taking it off, but I'll show you what I did. This first top bolt is really easy. You just need a socket, 10 millimeter. That comes off pretty easy. The second one is over here, and you'll have to, I found it easy to remove the breather tube that stretches across the motor. You can take this off, I just didn't want to mess with it. And if you have the boost increase valve, you'll need to disconnect that or just disconnect it from right here. Once you've got that out of the way, you'll be able to get to this one pretty easily. It's a little bit tricky because it's in such a tight area, as you can see, but you just gotta, take it out little by little. The bottom one down here is the one that everyone says is the hardest. This one actually took less time than this one, but I also dropped the wrench down to the bottom of the motor, so I had to fish it out. So for this one, what you'll need is a ratchet, a 6-inch extension and an 8-inch extension, a 3/4 or a 3/8 drive swivel, a 3/8 to 1/4 inch drive adapter, and a 10 millimeter socket. And there's two ways that I've seen people do this. Either come in from the side, fish it under this little electrical box right here, and then they can get down to there. Or I've seen people do it like this, and they come through here, pull up on there, and I'll get it set up so you guys can see. And then they can get down to that bottom bolt right there. So it'll look a little bit like that. Once you have the inlet horn off, you should check your turbo compressor wheel. Make sure that, there's nothing missing off of any of the blades, the nut's not loose. Check for play by grabbing this bolt, wiggling it around. If there's no play, no problem. If there's play, you should probably get it checked out. And just make sure it, spins easy. So in order to get that all off, you'll have to remove your intake. I have the HSP aluminum enclosed intake right over there. So I had to take the tube off in order to pull that horn off. Another thing that's really handy is a pair of long needle-nosed pliers, so you can grab the bolts as they're coming out so you don't drop them down into the motor. Now I'll show you the comparison between the stock horn and the HSP horn. So here's the stock one. As you can see, it's really restrictive around here. There's a lot of metal. This is a small hole. Then you come over to the HSP intake horn, and much more airflow. I believe this is a 3.5 inch in diameter, and I got it powder coated candy purple to match the rest of the intake. And when you order it, it will come with the intake horn and these 3 bolts. They are 5mm hex. So this. And these screws will actually go in first. The bottom two will go in first, and then you'll tighten those. Because you'll look, the stock one is just a hole. So you have to put this one in and then the bolts through. This one has little hooks on the bottom, so you can put the bolts in first and get your wrenches ready. Slide the horn on and then tighten them. And then the top one's pretty straightforward, just put it in. And there's a little divot there so you can get your wrench on there. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. For someone that's mechanically inclined or can do stuff easily, it's about an hour to hour and a half job. If you run into trouble, it's probably going to take a little longer. So yeah, we'll get stuff thrown back together and see you soon. All right, so we got the intake horn back in. It was kind of a hassle getting it back in all lined up because this tube is bigger. It kind of gets tight by that little electric box, and your connector here will be a little bit, you know, you'll have to stretch the wires a little bit, but we got it in, we got everything put back together. Did not get any video of actually wiggling it in, putting it in, because it required 2 hands, but the bolts that come with the HSP kit are a 5mm hex, and I did not use them. I use just regular bolts, because you can't grab around the head of those other ones, and it is just hard to get. These are the ones that I got, because the stock ones that come with it, or that come on the turbo already, are longer. So these ones will actually snug up, whereas these ones will have a gap. So after you get it all lined up, do not forget to put on RBT, because you do want that seal, since it does not come with a turbo gasket. You could buy a turbo gasket, but I just use that RBT because it seals, and it, you know, once that stuff's on there, it normally does not come off. So then after you get it put in, you just gotta rerun all your stuff. Make sure that you hook your blow-by tube up, hook this hose up, and if you have the boost fooler, hook that up as well. Make sure there's no parts dangling. Hook up your intake, whatever one you have. I have the HSP one. Make sure the boot is tight, and once that RBT dries, I'd leave it for at least 8 hours. They recommend 24 on the packaging, but I think 8 hours is enough to let it cure. So after it dries, we'll take this thing out and we'll see how it does, if there's any noticeable difference in drivability and efficiency. Alright guys, we got the turbo horn installed, and this is the first drive.